I was wiping someone else's juice off my sleeve when I realized I was done. Not angry done. Not dramatic done. Just done. My sister's twins had climbed into my lap without asking. Again. One was pulling my hair. The other had knocked over his cup, and the grape juice was spreading across my white shirt in a purple stain that I knew wouldn't come out. The whole table laughed. My parents, my sister, her husband. Like it was adorable. Like I was part of the entertainment. You don't mind watching them, right? Rachel said, already turning back to her wine glass. I didn't answer. She didn't wait for one. That was the moment. Right there at my own birthday dinner, except the cake had her kids' names on it instead of mine, that I understood something I'd been avoiding for years. I was invisible to these people. And that night, I decided to disappear for real. Let me back up. Tell you how I got here. Because it wasn't one big moment. It was 1,000 small ones, stacked up over 29 years until they finally crushed something inside me. I used to think the silence in our house meant peace. It didn't. It meant someone else was being celebrated while I learned to take up less space. Every wall in that house carried proof. Photos of Rachel's first steps, her graduation, her wedding. Professional prints in expensive frames. My mom spent weeks picking them out, arranging them just right in the hallway. My corner? Bare wall, cream-colored paint and nothing else. When I asked about it once, Mom said, "We ran out of room, sweetie." There were 4 empty nails right above where I was standing. When Rachel's old clothes didn't fit me, and they never did, we weren't even close to the same size, Mom called it being practical. When her trophies gathered dust in the garage, Dad said we'd save space by not putting mine up too. I learned early that my name didn't echo as loudly as hers. I was 15 when I won a writing contest. Statewide. The envelope came in the mail, official and stamped, with a check inside for $500. I remember placing it on the kitchen counter while Mom flipped pancakes, my hands shaking just a little because I was so proud. "That's nice, honey," she said. Eyes on the stove. Then the phone rang. It was Rachel calling about her new job offer. Some marketing position in the city. By the time Mom hung up, 45 minutes later, my envelope had disappeared under the grocery list. When I tried to bring it up at dinner, Dad said, "That's great, Valerie," without looking up from his plate. Then he asked Rachel about her benefits package. The conversation moved on. I sat there with my accomplishment folded up small in my pocket, taking up as little room as possible. That's what I was good at. Being small. Being easy. In college, I waited tables after class to pay for textbooks. Most weekends, my phone would light up with one name. Rachel. Can you watch the twins? Just for a few hours. The hours always stretched into nights. Their toys would clutter my dorm room floor. Their cereal bowls would fill my tiny sink. When I said I had exams, she'd sigh like I'd personally disappointed her. "You're so lucky to have all this free time," she'd say. Free time. Like my scholarship didn't require a 3.8 GPA. Like I wasn't working 20 hours a week just to afford pasta. But I showed up. Every time. Because that's what family does, right? Dad's voice echoed in my head one night when I asked about help with tuition. Senior year. I needed $2,000 to cover what my loans wouldn't. "We're still paying off the wedding," he said. Not looking up from his newspaper. Rachel's wedding had been 3 years ago. They'd spent $40,000 on it. I did the math later that night. Sitting in my apartment with my calculator and a stack of bills. $40,000 for one day. I was asking for $2,000 for an entire year of education. The edge of the page trembled slightly as he turned it. I saw his jaw tighten. He knew how unfair it sounded. He just didn't care enough to stop reading. I took out another loan. Picked up more shifts. Graduated with honors and an extra $15,000 in debt. They didn't come to my graduation. Rachel was pregnant with the twins. Too tired to make the drive. That's when I started to understand something important. It wasn't one big betrayal. It was thousands of small ones. Every hand-me-down that didn't fit. Every favor that stretched too long. Every quiet dismissal when I needed something. A lifetime of being the easy choice. The one who wouldn't complain. The one who'd show up and clean up and shut up. I used to believe staying quiet kept the peace. But peace built on silence isn't peace at all. It's debt. And eventually, someone comes to collect. That birthday dinner was supposed to be mine. But the cake already had Happy 4th Birthday Ryan and Owen written across it in blue frosting. We thought it'd be fun to celebrate everyone together, Mom said, like that explained why my candles were shaped like cartoon dinosaurs meant for toddlers. The twins clapped. Everyone laughed. I sat there thinking about the birthdays they'd forgotten entirely. 23. 26. Last year they'd texted me 3 days late. After dessert, Mom slid an envelope across the table. Not to me. To the center. We have a surprise, she said, smiling. A family trip next week. We booked everything. Dad nodded, proud. You'll love it, Valerie. Beach resort, all-inclusive. Then Rachel added the part they'd clearly discussed. You'll help with the boys so I can finally relax. Not a question. A statement. My role already assigned. The room tilted for a second. I heard the hum of the refrigerator. The scrape of a fork on porcelain. My own heartbeat, too loud in my ears. Then my voice came out. Flat. Even. I'm not going. Silence. Rachel's smile froze halfway. What do you mean you're not going? I mean exactly that. Mom's tone sharpened instantly. Don't make a scene, Valerie. I set my fork down. The metal rang softly against the plate. I'm not making a scene. I'm just saying no. Dad cleared his throat. Muttered something about gratitude that I didn't quite catch. Rachel leaned forward, her voice dropping to that whisper she used when she wanted to sound reasonable. You're being unbelievable right now. I stood up. Pushed my chair back slowly. The legs dragged across the tile with a sound that cut through everything. You've had my weekends. My nights. My patience. You can have the trip too. But without me. Their voices tangled as I walked out. Questions and accusations layered over each other, blending into noise. The door closed behind me, muffling it all. And for the first time in my life, the quiet didn't feel like punishment. It felt like space. That night, I sat at my desk with just the lamp on. The circle of light felt small but steady. My laptop hummed as I opened a new tab. Flights. Hotels. A blank search bar blinking back at me. My fingers hovered over the keys for just a moment. Then I typed one word. Elsewhere. I didn't slam any doors. Didn't need to. The quiet was enough. I scrolled through airline sites, comparing numbers like someone memorizing an escape route. Same weekend as their trip. Different destination. Different life. The cursor blinked over the word confirm. I pressed it. A new flight. A new hotel. Same dates as theirs, but 1,000 miles in the opposite direction. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From something else. Relief, maybe. Or the strange lightness that comes when you finally stop carrying something you were never meant to hold. Every sound in the house became sharper after that. The washing machine droning at midnight. Dad's TV too loud downstairs. Mom's phone calls filled with Rachel's laughter drifting up through the vents. I'd hear her say things like, Valerie will help with that, and I'd picture my name folded into every plan like a napkin no one actually asked for. I stopped answering calls. Stopped volunteering for anything. During lunch breaks at work, I printed every receipt. Every booking confirmation. Folded them neatly and slid them into a clear sleeve in my folder. There was something almost holy about the order of it. Numbers and dates and timestamps. Proof that my life finally had structure outside of them. A week before the trip, I went to buy a suitcase. The clerk asked if it was for business or pleasure. Neither, I said. Freedom. She laughed, not knowing I meant it. The suitcase was gray, hard shell, soundless when it rolled. I loved it immediately. At home, I laid it open on my bed. One by one, I packed. White shirts, folded jeans, my notebook, the silver water bottle I always carried. I zipped it halfway, leaving room for something that didn't fit yet. The feeling of leaving for real. Mom knocked on my door that night. "Remember to bring sunscreen," she said, mistaking my closed laptop for agreement. I nodded once, watched her reflection in the screen. Her words floated in the air long after she left. The next day, Rachel texted, "Can you pick up extra snacks for the twins?" I stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then I deleted the thread. No reply. It felt like cutting a rope I'd been holding onto for years. My hands were free suddenly. Empty but free. I started waking up earlier, walking around the block before work. The air before sunrise felt untouched. New. I practiced silence there, learned the weight of it in my lungs. I didn't owe anyone a single word anymore. In the evenings, I cleared my email, unsubscribed from everything with their names on it, organized my bank accounts, stopped every autopay tied to shared bills. My life shrank down to essentials. What I earned, what I kept, what I chose. Grace from work noticed. "You've been quiet," she said over coffee one afternoon. "Maybe I finally ran out of explanations," I replied. She didn't ask more. I was grateful. 2 nights before their flight, I stood in front of the hallway mirror, the one framed by all those family photos Mom loved so much. Rachel's wedding smile stared back at me from the wall. My own reflection looked foreign, calmer, but older somehow. I picked up the frame, flipped it face down. The soft thud against the table sounded final. Later that night, I wrote a single text. Saved it as a draft. "I'm going on my own vacation. Enjoy yours." I didn't send it yet. Just seeing it there, waiting in my outbox, was enough to slow my pulse. The last evening at home, the house buzzed with excitement. Suitcases stacked near the door. The twins running through the hallway in matching sun hats. Mom's voice carrying from the kitchen, rehearsing checklists out loud. I sat in my room with earbuds in, pretending to watch a movie. My suitcase was already hidden in the trunk of my car. At midnight, I checked the flight one more time. On schedule. I took one slow breath, turned off the lamp, let the darkness settle. My phone lit up once. Rachel's message. "Can't wait for our trip tomorrow." I powered the phone down without replying. That night, I slept deeper than I had in years. Morning came quietly. The smell of coffee drifted from the kitchen, the house alive with movement and last-minute panic. I moved just as quietly, walking past their open suitcases, past Mom calling for sunscreen again. I said only, "I'll meet you there." They smiled, distracted, believing it. The drive to the airport was a blur of sunrise and highway signs. I parked at a different terminal, checked my bag, watched families pass with the same exhaustion I'd carried for years. At my gate, I sat near the window, watched planes lift off like secrets breaking free. When my boarding group was called, I opened my phone one last time, scrolled to that saved message, and hit send. "I'm going on my own vacation. Enjoy yours." Then I powered it off, dropped it into my bag. No one saw me leave. The airport hum was constant. Voices and wheels and gate announcements calling numbers that meant nothing to me. My family was somewhere on the other side of the terminal, juggling tickets and backpacks and the twins. I pictured the scene without needing to see it. Mom fussing, Rachel half scolding, Dad trying to sound patient. They'd think I was parking the car, maybe grabbing coffee. For once, I liked that they weren't looking for me. I walked to my gate, showed my boarding pass, stepped onto a plane heading in the opposite direction. The air smelled like metal and recycled air. When the seatbelt light blinked on, I closed my eyes. The plane lifted, soft and certain, leaving Phoenix behind like a habit I'd outgrown. Hours later, my phone vibrated the second I turned it back on. Dozens of missed calls. Then more. Texts stacked like dominoes falling. Where are you? Gate C3. We're boarding, Valerie. Your sister's crying. This is selfish. Answer your phone right now. By the time the plane touched down, there were over 100 messages. The newest one read, "You ruined our vacation." I didn't open any of them. I stood in the slow-moving line toward baggage claim. The carousel turning. The noise blending into white sound. My gray suitcase appeared, sliding toward me like punctuation at the end of a sentence. I pulled it off the belt. The weight grounded me. Outside, the heat hit. Thick and salted and alive. The island air smelled like sunscreen and seaweed and something I couldn't name yet. Something like possibility. I checked into the hotel. Signed my name. Handed over my card like proof of something private. The clerk smiled. Welcome. I nodded. Too tired to return it properly. In my room, I placed the suitcase by the wall. Sat on the edge of the bed. The phone buzzed again. Mom. Rachel. Dad. All of them flooding the screen. For a moment, the guilt pulsed. Quick and sharp and human. Then it flattened. Like a wave collapsing back into the sea. I turned the phone over. Screen down. Stared at the ceiling. Somewhere, my family was probably arguing in an airport lounge right now. The twins crying. Rachel fuming. I pictured Mom's voice breaking when she realized I wasn't on the next flight either. They'd call it betrayal. I called it balance. The next morning, I walked to the shoreline before sunrise. The sky was pale orange. The water breathing in slow rhythm. I dug my toes into the wet sand. Let the foam reach for my ankles. The silence here was different. Clean. Deliberate. When I finally checked my phone, the battery was nearly dead. The notifications blurred together. More missed calls. Voicemails I'd never listened to. Accusations typed in all caps. You're ungrateful. You embarrassed us. We needed you. Needed. That word stuck with me. Because they didn't need me. They needed a free babysitter. A backup plan. Someone who'd say yes without expecting anything back. I scrolled once. Then held down the screen until the message thread trembled. Delete all. The sound it made, one quiet tap, was the only reply I ever gave them. I spent the rest of the morning wandering through the market near the pier. Fishermen shouted prices. Children chased birds between the stalls. Tourists haggled over handmade jewelry. No one knew my name here. And for the first time in my life, that anonymity felt like safety. I bought a small seashell pendant from a vendor. Its surface was smooth and cold. Perfect in its imperfection. When I held it up to the light, I thought about that glass of juice spilling across the table back home. The color bleeding into white. And how now, finally, I could just let it dry. That evening, I opened my notebook. Wrote one line. Freedom doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives when no one is watching you leave. Then I closed the book. Left it on the bedside table next to the keycard. Outside, the wind shifted, carrying faint laughter from somewhere down the beach. For a split second, it sounded like hers. My sister's. But it wasn't. It was just the world moving on. The way it always does. Morning light spilled through the curtains. Soft and pale. The tide whispered against the shore outside my window. Steady and unbothered. I brewed coffee in the small hotel pot. The smell sharp and grounding. My phone sat face down on the nightstand. Quiet for once. I didn't reach for it. I took my cup to the balcony instead. Below, the beach stretched empty except for a few early risers dragging chairs into the sand. No twins. No voices calling my name. Just space. Wide enough to breathe in. I hadn't realized how loud my life had been until it went still. I opened my notebook again. The line from the night before stared back at me. Beneath it, I wrote another. It stays when you stop apologizing for wanting it. The pen bled a little on the page. Ink sinking into the fibers. It felt permanent, like a promise. Later, I walked along the waterline. Let the surf erase my footprints as I went. I thought about every version of myself that had stayed quiet. At the dinner table, in the kitchen, at the edge of every family photo. I used to think silence was safety. Now I understood it could be armor too. By afternoon, I packed my bag again. The suitcase closed with a single click. Smooth and final. I left the room key on the desk beside a note for housekeeping. Thank you. No return address. No name. The flight home was calm. No calls waiting when I turned my phone on at the airport. Maybe they'd stopped trying. Maybe they finally believed me. Back in Phoenix, I didn't drive to the old house. I went straight to my apartment instead. The light there was clean, white, unfiltered. I unpacked slowly, folded clothes back into drawers, placed the seashell pendant on my desk. It glowed faintly in the afternoon sun, the same color as the foam that had touched my feet that morning. The kettle hissed on the stove. Steam rose thin and silent. I poured the water, watched it swirl, then exhaled. No noise, no apologies, just air filling a space that finally belonged to me. The next morning, I woke before sunrise again. The city was still, the air faintly cool against the windows. I sat at my desk, the one with no framed photos, no clutter, no ghosts. My phone lay beside the seashell, dark and still. For once, no one expected anything from me. That emptiness felt clean. I made tea, opened the window, and listened. No shouting, no footsteps, only wind. For years, I'd mistaken duty for love, and silence for peace. But real peace doesn't ask for permission. It just waits for you to notice it. I looked around my small apartment. The stack of books by the couch, the folded blanket, the light spilling across the floor in clean lines. It wasn't much, but every inch of it was mine. A week after I got back, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Valerie? It was my mom's voice. Tired. Smaller than I'd ever heard it. Yeah, we're back. From the trip. Okay. Silence stretched between us. Long enough that I could hear her breathing on the other end. It wasn't the same without you, she said finally. I wanted to say, of course it wasn't. You didn't have a free babysitter. But what came out was, I needed to do this. I know. Her voice cracked a little. Your father and we've been talking. I waited. We didn't realize how much we'd been. She couldn't finish. I didn't help her. I'm sorry, she said. And she meant it. I could hear it in the way the words broke. But sorry doesn't erase 29 years. I appreciate that, I said. But I need time. How much time? I don't know yet. We hung up. I set the phone down. My hands weren't shaking. Maybe one day they'll tell the story differently. How I walked away. How I ruined the trip. Let them. The truth is simpler. I just stopped showing up to places where I was never really seen. The kettle whistled. I smiled. Slow and quiet. The silence that followed wasn't lonely. It was earned. Thanks for listening. And if this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about finding your voice when the world wants you silent. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who only see you when they need something.